My name is Eugene Marsh. I was born June 18th, 1949 in Lancaster, South Carolina. My birth mother, she was not able to raise me as her child due to social and economic conditions that she experienced as a woman of color. I was removed from her and was placed in a foster home in Lancaster by a single African-American woman. I was the oldest male child of 13 foster children who lived in the home of Miss Amanda Bond. I, being the oldest male child, assumed many of the responsibilities because that's what young black males did at that time, because there was no male father figure in my home. We had to walk maybe about 2, maybe 3 miles to the school, which was in the black community. The school that I attended in Lancaster, poor resources, limited resources, whereas many of the books that we received as children, hand-me-down books, I mean literally books that had been wrote in by white kids, literally put in the N-word and drawing figures and images, and that was mere fact that they knew that the book was coming to students of color. I grew up in a time of Jim Crow in the South Carolina, where segregation was a norm. As an African-American kid in South Carolina, could only use bathroom designated for colored. Signs in the windows says, no color allowed. Just an awful time. So, the liberation took place among the black leaders in Lancaster, among the black churches, that discussing, what action should be taken if we should integrate to high school. And several of my friends that I went to church with, we had this discussion and saying whether or not we should go. Initially, there was 4 of us who decided we was going to integrate to high school in 1965. And 3 of them backed out at the last minute. I stepped out and registered for the high school. All hell broke loose. Unadulterated, pure hell. Physically, pushing me around, spitting upon me, the N-word, bumping into me, hitting me with their arms. Some even kicked me as I was walking down the hallway, and nothing was done. I graduated in 1967 at the bottom of my class. And I mean the last bottom of my class. I was poor, black, and uneducated when I graduated in 1967. And the only employer that was hiring was the United States Army. I went down to the post office and signed up. And there were many of us who were drafted, but I decided I wanted to volunteer. I wanted to become a man so that I could be respected as a black man in South Carolina. So I chose to join the Army. And I landed in Vietnam on June 15, 1969. And that's where I spent 13 months in Vietnam. My first day in Vietnam was when we landed on the plane. We landed in Cam Ranh Bay. And as we were on the tarmac, on the plane, getting off the plane, we received rockets and the grenades came coming into us. And as we was exiting the plane and we was being told, get off the damn plane, run, we had to really run with no weapons. The only thing we had was our duffel bag. And we had to literally run and try to find a bunker to hide in. Fear set in my heart. As I got into the bunker, I literally cried. We finally got secure, that we finally got able to come out of the bunkers, looked at the destruction of the grenades and the rockets that came in on us. I was just floored. In my own way, I was just saying how I was so close to death on that day, landed in Vietnam, and had to face the reality that combat was real. I was so afraid that I was going to be killed on that day in Cam Ranh Bay. I came home thinking that I had done something distinguished, thinking that I had really proven my manhood. So when I came home from Vietnam with my medals on my chest and spit shine boots, I thought I was the man. That was short-lived. What I thought I had accomplished was dismissed because the component of being an African American soldier at that time was a negative. It was not a positive. The uniform that we wore in Vietnam came off as fast as we put them on, because the association of being a Vietnam veteran and being African American could not go together. I began to just fall through the cracks. I fell on hard times. Hard times meaning that I was homeless for 2.5, maybe 3 years. So I stayed in shelters. I panhandled. I would beg for money just to get some coins in my pocket. I was very angry because of having served in Vietnam, having served 3 years in the military, had fulfilled my mission as a good soldier, and thinking that the world owed me something. There was no transition from the Vietnam War to civilian life. There was no one there to actually walk me through the process, or at least help me to understand what resources I was entitled to. There was nothing. It was just basically dumping me on the streets of South Carolina and basically telling me, you're on your own. In 1973, I heard that there were a company in North Carolina known as Duke Power Company, utility company. They had advertising for affirmative action program to bring in African Americans. So I got a job in Duke Power Company as a relay technician. And this job was solely for the purpose of African Americans under the affirmative action program to bring in individuals like myself into the workforce. I was the only African American. I was looked upon as being a quota system. I was very interested in terms of expanding my horizon because I wanted to believe that I could do better. And in doing so, I met other black professionals who was working in the design department of Duke Power Company. And I did not have the skill sets. So what I did was I went down to the community college and signed up for a drafting course. Introduction to drafting, fundamentals of drafting. And Duke Power, they came to me and said, well, we're going to take you out of the relay department, and we had the opportunity for you to maybe go into drafting. So I landed a position there in Duke Power Company as a design draftsman. It is where I began to learn the dynamics of corporate America, of seeing other men and women of color, understanding the dynamics of diversity. That trend led me into other jobs, rising to the ranks of career path, and doors began to open up for careers that I never imagined for me. I got a job offered to me by a firm called J.A. Jones Construction Company. So they reached out to me and offered me a position to come to Newark, New Jersey. So after I finished that project, I was ready to pack my bags. I had packed my bags. I was ready to move back to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I had come from. And lo and behold, I was contacted by a firm called Leo McGovern Bovis, one of the top 10 construction management companies in the United States. My job and role under my leadership and style was to manage and facilitate contracts. So in 1997, I was downsized, thinking my world had come to an end. And I took a hard look at myself because I just did not know what was my next options or what my next plans would be. So I decided to start my own construction management company. Went out and established my own company, gave it birth, set up a name, did all the corporate entities that I needed to do. So I became the first African American firm to be hired by Merrill Lynch as a construction management consultant to manage their $400 million construction project. That project landed me in Black Enterprise magazine in 2000. One of the most two notable projects that I can point to is the project in Aberdeen, Maryland, where we were the construction manager there, and also the construction manager for the Statue of Liberty. I always dreamed that I always wanted to go to college. I always wanted to get a college degree. So in 2000, I started out as began my associate degree at the community college, and I received an associate degree in architectural science in 2010. And after I finished the associate degree in 2010, I felt that that's what just the beginning of the process of me getting a 4-year degree. The day that I graduated, I was featured in the Trenton Times of New Jersey. My story has come full circle. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I understand that the counseling which I chose to go in, chose my career path is to counsel veterans, and this population, which is somewhat concerns me, is what my experience, what to degree of my experience I can help other veterans transform their lives, because many of them are suffering from brain trauma, PTSD, substance abuse, and other types of other mental illnesses that are taking place. And as a young man who had been exposed to homelessness, I myself have been diagnosed with PTSD, and realize and understand how we need to take control of this mental illness and help young people become successful. And more important, for those who are returning home from Afghanistan, Iraq, we have a responsibility to ensure they have a better transition, return back to some normalcy in their lives and not be left out in the cold. I think that in the ways that I tried to live my life is to treat people the way I want to be treated. And I tried to do that in a way that resonates with my personal values. And I think it has sort of set me apart, and I have set myself apart, that I want to be that person.